And the studios, we've just been joined by Dr. Emmanuel Saffa Abdulai, who is the Executive Director for the National Sports Authority, NSA for short. The NSA boss is here to talk on their fundraising drive for the country's men national team, Leone Stars, their upcoming matches. The appointment of Mohamed Kalon as head coach of Leone Stars and his 1 year in office this April. Successes and, of course, challenges among many other things. Without wasting time, we say good morning. Dr. Abdulai, it's a pleasure having us always.
Thank you very much. Good morning, listeners and viewers.
Well packed into your fundraising drive, appointments of Mohamed Kalon, among many other things. But first off, what's initiated the need for such a drive to fund the male national team?
So thank you very much, Samuel. So let me inform Sierra Leoneans that we've launched a fundraising drive for the Leone Star national team. This is because you have, every time it's a government alone that is funding Leone Star, and it's quite a huge financial burden to play our home and away games, particularly so when we are playing away in Liberia. So we decided at this time, in order to alleviate the financial burden on government, it was important to fundraise, to ask corporate bodies to help us with resources so that we can at least cushion what government is going to provide for us. So as we speak now, the fundraising drive is launched. Leone Star is supposed to play its first match against Guinea-Bissau on the 20th of March. And then we fly to Egypt on the 27th of March. We'll play against Egypt in Cairo. Now we're asking public bodies, we're asking private institutions, we're asking corporate bodies and individuals to donate to the Leone Star endeavor. As you know, Leone Star is one of our major treasury in Sierra Leone. When it comes to Leone Star, we all are happy when we win. There is no divide, there is no political divide, there is no tribal and regional feasibility. This is one unit where we all come together, and we believe from the Ministry of Sport and National Sport Authority and the SLFE that it is very important to ask people, to help the team somehow.
Many do believe that your appointment as NSA boss has breathed a sigh of relief for the discipline, sporting discipline across the country, because as we speak, we've seen many disciplines are now alive, most of those who've been dead, if not buried at some point in time. But again, back to the national team. Yes, when Leone Star does win a match, all of us are excited. But again, the current realities with regards to the team is one that seems not welcoming for many people. How do you think at this moment?
So I know sometimes it's a hard conversation to have, but firstly, as public officials, we have to face the reality. Now, I took over NSA 9 months ago, and when you just call the name out of the institution, it's National Sports Authority. So I'm commenting on your first intro into that. Our business is to support sport, not football alone, not volleyball alone. We are sport. So when I came in, I realized that certain sporting disciplines were not even considered. So I tried to bring all of them on board, give them some amount of resources, basically look at their good governance structures. Because also, they say in Korea, we tell the dog, you tell the bone. The sporting disciplines have to be well organized, structured. They have to be democratized.
Because listen, I saw even rugby. I was like,
Yes, so they're evolving. But look, I see opportunities in the creation of sporting disciplines. Yeah, I see young people getting engaged, getting out from the street, or taking dogs into some amount of sport. So sport, for me, is a big thing that we can use to tackle the youthful problem, the youth unemployment problem, the empowerment problem. Because, so for example, if you look at what some of the academies that I am associated with, for example, OIFC, what we do is we give conditions to the boys. You have to go to school to play in this academy. So you look at the under 12, under 15, under 17, they all have to go to school. So I think it's a good tool because everyone wants to do it. It's a passion thing. So I think that's one of the things. In terms
but
of
just to add to that as well, because there's still more focus on Leone Stars, or probably football, I would say, in terms of funding, or the focus in general.
Yes,
because when you even look at other sporting disciplines, for example, I think it was a year or two ago when Sierra Leone won even a gold medal in the All-African Games, and that's for Scrabble. So there are other sporting disciplines as well who are doing a lot, but then it's a bit silent.
Well, in the last 8 months, we've actually provided a lot of support. So, for example, we supported gymnastics, and they went to Azerbaijan and brought us 20 gold medals. We supported karate, they brought us 40 gold medals in the West African region. So it's time to really get the other sport in this. But you have to understand, and the reality of the situation is, football is the biggest sport. And it's like, I tell people that football is our third religion. After Christianity and Islam and Christianity, the next thing people clamor around is football. In fact, football is bigger when it comes to bringing everyone together than the first two religions that I mentioned. So the chunk of the resources really goes to it, because it's also a political sport. The politicians will not want to let people start to cry about Leone Star. Even now you're asking questions about performance because it's a political game. Everybody wants it to succeed. What we have done is we've realized that there are a lot of problems within the mechanisms that will make it succeed. So we started instituting changes. You see that we appointed a new coach. We gave him a free hand to appoint his backroom staff. And we're changing how we run the Leone Star team, you know, particularly focusing on the home base. Because you have to develop a crop of home-based players who are strong enough, good enough to be able to represent you. So you can bring one or two good international players or professionals. What we've done in the past, we had everyone coming to play for Leone Star coming from overseas. Sometimes we don't even know whether they are playing week in, week out, but because they're just based overseas, we bring them. That is changing. So really, that is the issue. The other sports are coming along. You can now see that volleyball, basketball, long tennis, cricket has been doing excellently well. Scrabble have won something. Once we have the resources, our businesses, my drive at the National Sport Authority is to support all of the sports. But there are 2 or 3 things which are conditions to support. Firstly, your good governance mechanism have to be good, which means what? You have to have congresses. It has to be a national sport. You cannot just sit in Freetown and say, we are national Ludo players. You have to play Ludo across the country. You have to, you have to devolve the sport. You have to make sure that women are involved. You understand? And then you have a constitution, you have a bank account. All of these things are conditions that we have put onto them. The director of sustainable sport and participation is in charge of that, basically pushing all of these associations. Once you meet that requirement and we have resources, we'll support you. But when it comes to our darling soccer, in football as we call it, this is something we have to do. So now, Sierra Leone has qualified for the U20 Nations Cup, which is going to take place next year in Ivory Coast, next month in Ivory Coast in April. The government of Sierra Leone has to support it. The government of Sierra Leone is supporting the male and female Premier League. We are the biggest funders of it, which means every 8 months, you put 8 million new leons into it, which is about $300,000. You get about 3,000 jobs created for young people. For me, that figure alone is big for us. 3,000 young people waking up in the morning, they go to practice, they come home, they play football in the weekends, and they are looking forward to it rather than being on the street as drug addicts, pickpocketers, or stealing. That is big for me. So I don't look at those figures as, oh, it's small. 3,000 is a lot of young people taken off the street, you know. And then when you look at the indirect jobs, everyone, if you go to football matches, people are selling granite, water, they are gate takers, there are people who are sweeping. So that kinds of thing, the way we roll that indirect jobs, I think we should invest more into sport. But what we are really now doing is, everyone wants Leone Star to succeed. We're asking the corporate bodies. We've approached banks, mining companies. We have approached petrol stations. We've approached the Maladas, the Gentles, you know, Albert Gulama and others, so that we can all put resources to help government. Because in about 1 month, they are going to spend about $300,000 or more on the U20 Nations Cup. So that is why we're here today asking everyone to contribute to this.
Leone Stars have moments of, you know, excellence, I would say. There are times when they're actually on the pitch and you're really, you're at school. Other times you go, Alata Evo, it's also stuff like that. So there's also problem with consistency. But in this case, where does the problem lie? Does it lie with the selection of players, the players themselves, or the coaches that we've had over time?
The problems are multifaceted. So firstly, we have relied too much on international players, and we don't know their standards. What we have now done, and what the SLFA has done so excellently, is to ensure consistent league, domestic league. And that is going to produce good players. That is going to produce players who are exported overseas. So for example, just 2 days ago, my club, Loa FC, exported 3 young players to Dubai. and they're playing. Yesterday they played a game, one of them scored. This is the level of preparation we're looking at. National leagues playing, under 17 leagues playing, under 20 league playing, under 15 league playing. So you have a crop of young people who are developing from the home base. Even if you don't have a professional, you know that they can put up a good show. That's one of the problems. The second problem has always been about the ability of the leadership to carry out the program. So you could see that we've changed the leadership now. We have Mohamed Kalon coming in.
Do we have hope in him? Do we have hope in him?
Mohamed is a first-class coach in the world with the best qualification. His team, FC Kalon, plays very well. You look at them, they play very well. We're hoping he can translate that into the national team. So we're giving it a try. We're giving a fresh face and fresh perspective to the national team.
This is the first time Kalon has been exposed to such a capacity. All throughout his life has been, I think FC Kalon is his first in terms of a club. And this is a national team. Should we be, for use of better word, over optimistic as to our expectation from him at this moment, or should we tell ourselves more to get in terms of what we expect from him?
I think we should be optimistic, not over-optimistic. First thing is, the World Cup qualifiers, he's come in at a point when the chances of qualifying for World Cup is 40%, right? So putting a lot of pressure on him will be...
In other words, best losers.
Yes, as best losers. If we put a lot of pressure on him, it will be unfair. What we want to do with him, he has played at the highest level in the world. He's coached his team, he's come back to Sierra Leone, he went back out and did his professional training courses, which involves a lot of things. For him to have a UEFA license, a pro license, that is a lot. So what we're doing for him is to give him the opportunity to do the World Cup qualifiers and assess him, see if we can give him a long-term engagement. Because a long-term engagement is a way to go. When you want national teams to qualify, when you want them to do well, you have to have a long-term engagement. Also, one of the things we've done for him is that as head coach of Leone Star, he supervises all the other junior levels. So he supervises the CHAN, the U20, the U17, and the U15. Why? Because we want him to have an eye on it, and so that they can play the same system, but also allow the boys to develop. What he has said to us himself is that, look, I am not everything. I want all of us to succeed. He keeps saying to me every day, he said, Emmanuel, I need all of us to be around so we can brainstorm, so we succeed. And I think I like that approach. I like the approach more than a coach who thinks he's the end-all or be-all. He selects his team. You can discuss with people the problems. So our hope is this will be a turning point. That's what we're hoping for.
Coach Karim comes in. The appointment of Coach Karim was one that many people will say ushered in a lot of transformations in the manner at which we play football in Sierra Leone. Because before this time, all of what we've seen over time is the feed up ball, all goes, all comes, for use of better word. but again, with Coach Karim, you'll notice that you see clinical football, classical football for some of us who do watch football. But the appointment of Mohamed Kalon comes in at a time when the national, SLAFA and NSA still has a contract with Coach Karim. There was no letter to say he has been sacked or whatsoever. Don't you think it sends signal as to...
No. So again,
the lot of hula balloons that are most times seen within
you should know me better
sporting
discipline. You should know me better than what you just said. Ahmed Karim had a contract. That contract is terminatable. The contract says if you don't perform, we can terminate it. Clause 11 says if you don't perform. Now the government expended about $2.7 million on September, October, November, and we did not qualify. That is not good performance. So we triggered the clause. And then we paid him 1 month in lieu of termination, which is legal. So if you know me, you know I will do the right thing when it comes to him. We don't inform him, the SLFA informs him. And I got a copy of a letter that the SLFA sent to him, informing him of the termination of the contract. And the labor law says you pay them 1 month in lieu. If you don't give them enough 1 month notice, you pay them that amount and you terminate, which is what we did.
So what are some of the benchmarks set already for Mohamed Kalon?
Firstly, is to we keep saying to him jokingly that you will go World Cup. But that pressure is really not something we want to put on him. We want him to do his best to qualify us to World Cup. We want him to do that. If it doesn't happen, we'll look at the general performance. But he has 5 games. We are 4th on the table, and it's a long way up there. best losing position. Best loser is the position that we can actually get. If we get there, alhamdulillah, like they say in Islam, or thank God, we will be happy. But if not, we'll look at the general performance. But like I said, that is the first thing. The second thing is, Sierra Leoneans love to watch good football. That's why you see, despite Arsenal loses all the time, most of the Sierra Leoneans support Arsenal. Unfortunately.
I suppose you're a fan of Arsenal.
No, I'm not. I can never be a fan of a team that doesn't win cups. I support Chelsea, as you know.
Oh, I forgot.
We win cups. So that's the thing. Sierra Leone loves the tiki-taka kind of football. So, why are you feeling uneasy? Are you an Arsenal fan?
No, please. I'm okay. I'm fine. No worries.
Anyway, so, what we want to see is really a transformation. Like he said, Amidou started that. Team was playing good football, so we want to improve on that and win games. But at the same time, we want development. You want to win games in football, you can win, but you also need to think about what happens in 12 months, what happens in 16 months, where would we be as a team? So that's the benchmark for him.
And you'll be marking 1 year in office already at the NSA. So
1 year? Is it 1 year already?
Yeah, April.
In April.
You forget it.
What would you say is one of your biggest success?
It's always difficult when you talk about yourself, but I'll tell you, and everyone will tell you, there has been a clean sweep at the NSA, transforming the NSA 360 degrees from what it used to be, an institution that was just dormant, supporting Leone staff. We are everywhere now. We are developing sport. We are engaging all of the sport. We are domesticating the sport. You could see, for example, we are no longer office people. We are on this field. But we are following basketball. We are following volleyball. We are engaging with them. And the most important part of it is domesticating the sport. Localizing it. We want all the sports to play in Makeni, Kenema, Portloco, Bo. We want people to play because that's where you get the talent. That's one of the biggest things that we've done. Also, we have transformed the entire NSA setup, professionalizing the setup. And we're also trying to transform the sporting associations. Everyone seems to be much more responsible because we cannot fund any sporting association that doesn't do its own work properly. You have to do your work. You have to ensure that you qualify, So you could see that NSA is everywhere. We are doing what we are supposed to do. The NSA Act gives us the mandate solely to promote, regulate, and develop sport in Sierra Leone. That's what's the Act of 2017, and that's what we're now trying to do. We are setting up the National Institute of Sport for Sporting Education. We are engaging with universities to ensure that we go back to the intervarsity stage, where we get athletes from colleges and universities. We are doing the intersport with the Ministry of Basic Education. We are just everywhere trying to do things, but our directors are really the heroes. When I met these young guys, you look at them, they want to do things. All they needed was leadership. So if you look at Director Alice, he's now in charge of this fundraising. He's in charge of corporate. He's working on the Bo Stadium. He's working on the Sierra Leone Stadium. The Shaka Stevens, the National Stadium here. Director Stephen Kelfala is there, who is in charge of all the sporting associations, monitoring them and ensure that things work. Then you have, of course, you have Director Spain, who is in charge of the Institute of Education. You have Director Lambert, who is coordinating. So in fact, one of the things that is happening now, we're using sports to connect governance. We just finished organizing the fishing tournament with the Ministry of Fishing and stuff. We finished helping them technically to do that. We're helping the Ministry of Local Government to domesticate sport. We're now organizing interministerial competitions. You understand? And like I said, one of our biggest flagship programs, we're funding the male and the female Premier League that is creating 3,000 jobs for young people. And that's a lot of things we're doing.
Just before we join our sports correspondent in Studio 2, Ransford McLean, still with soccer, how has it been for women, the females who involve themselves in playing football?
Very well. In the last year, you could see that we've taken a quantum leap. In fact, just 2 days ago, our U17 played against Guinea and they do 1-1. Government of Sierra Leone is also funding the female Premier League, and that's the biggest platform where you have female given the same opportunity as their male counterpart, playing game in and out.
Same opportunities and the pay as well, is it the same?
Well, what we do is we provide funding to the Female Premier League Board, and we insist.
So interestingly, Loa is my second team, but again, interestingly, I grew up around Lions Field, and that's why, of course, when I KCP came. So
okay,
I don't have a justification.
No.
I just love Lions. I make a
this place seems like a Lions den. Junior is the chairman of Lions. All of you support Lions. Okay, I see that.
but Dr. Abdulai, it seemed quite exciting there. More so, the basketball. It seemed to be. Getting the required momentum, I believe young people expect to see from it.
So, for a couple of things, before we talk about the Lions movement, I keep asking news producers, why do you put sport last in the news? Well, you see the excitement, you see the happiness, you see the people out there. Why can't we put news on the top of sports on the top of the news? For example, to say the Basketball Association, as the first news, has started a successful league. It's unfair that we are giving jobs, we are creating excitement, we are reducing crimes, and you just put us at the bottom of the.
It all boils down the outside of every other media.
It's everywhere. Even in international sports, it's the same. Everywhere. And I ask every media house I go to. But let's come back to it. So, listen, I always say to people, leadership is the solution to our problems. What you have with the Basketball Association is Ali Ijazi providing leadership with his executive and delivering on a grand scale. Look at what they've delivered. Even when we have problems with they haven't been able to access the national stadium, they got a venue. Look at the crowd, look at the excitement. Now they have a big sponsor, which is AfriMoney, and they are delivering. And this is what we have said to people. Sometimes the NSA or the government of Sierra Leone will not be able to provide you money or support, but will provide you the enabling environment to do this. Even when they launch this league, they launch it at the NSA office. We provided that venue for them for free. And we've been encouraging with Ali. I know he's not very happy that we haven't really come what we wanted to do, come the way we wanted to come into this. But it's one of those leagues that we call crowded sports that we want to sponsor this year. So the government will put resources into it that will go into paying salaries of those young people who are playing the sport. So that is one thing, is to meet the president's Big Five game changer, which is employment. Government is trying to create employment through sport. And it's going to be big from what you have seen by their own arrangement and their own strides. They have delivered on it. And in the coming months, we'll also come in to support them. But this is massive, and this is what we look forward to other sporting disciplines to deliver on.
The construction work at the National Stadium has brought in a lot of strains to many of the sporting disciplines. Is the NSA concerned, more so when the time frame seemed to have elapsed long ago for the completion of that work?
So the stadium, let me try to explain this to people so we understand. The first contract that was done for the stadium was supposed to have ended a couple of months ago. In the middle of the project, we realized that there was a serious omission, that the stadium seats were not part of the contract. It was just about renovating. FIFA and CAF said they cannot use a stadium without seats anymore. So we went again to renegotiate. Now, if you go to the stadium, the outer part of the stadium is finished. What do I mean by this? Swimming pool is finished, basketball, volleyball, the practice field is finished, the hostel is finished. But do you want to hand it over half and half? We just recently finished negotiating the seats contract. So it's a new contract, and it will take about 10 months for them to finish that. So it might be at the end of the year. But it depends on how government wants to approach this. Maybe take it half and use the outer part, and when the inner part is, the main bowl is finished, then we can go in there and also begin to use it. I don't know the approach. We'll seek further guidance on this, but that has been the problem. And I want everyone to understand, because there have been misinformation here and there. If you get into that stadium, every other part of it is finished except the main bowl for the seats.
And during your time in office as well, you've been able to, I think, do a tour and check some of these facilities. I remember the last time I think it was in Bo, was it?
Yes, Bo.
Where you went to the particular structure, there were broken toilet seats and the likes. Now we're also undergoing a very long phase now, renovating the main bowl here in Freetown. How are we going to keep up with maintenance?
The government's decision is, there's a cabinet decision to privatize it. So it's going to be given to a private entity, and government collects rent from it, and then they can handle it. It's their responsibility to keep it up to standard. Government cannot maintain and handle its own infrastructure. So it's going to be privatized. And you spoke about the Bow Stadium. So even in the Bow Stadium now, we are renovating again from our little resources. There was fire on the artificial turf. We're trying to reestablish that. The perimeter fence, I mean, the land had been encroached. We're also trying to do that. So it has been a long 1 year of roller coaster trying to fix things that should be normal. So some of the things I tell my colleagues at the NSA, what we are doing are normal things. Like you work in government, you're supposed to take care of Bow Stadium, you're supposed to monitor the National Stadium. It's just normal. It's nothing extraordinary. When we begin to build more facilities, when we begin to bring more artificial turf in the country, then we are doing extra. But these normal things are what sometimes people don't really do.
And a year from now, if you're invited back to this show,
you will see the revolution in the sporting sector. You've already seen it.
What is one of the major achievements you want to be able to boast about?
Firstly, I think we need to get facilities across the country. That is a major project. You need to have, look, for example, the McKinney Stadium, McKinney playing field, has massive land provision. You can fix anything in that place. That has to be fixed. You know, if you go to the Kenema playing field, they have massive landed property there. It has to be fixed. Bo already has its own facility. Then you can also go to places like Port Loko, or maybe you go to Falaba. NSA already has a land in Falaba and Mile 91. So we are looking forward. We are engaging with the ministry. We are engaged Ministry of Sports. We're engaging with a lot of other international bodies about how we can move this forward. So my hope really is to build infrastructure. So this year, for example, the NSA has taken 160 degrees turn from sponsoring sporting association to travel to providing them equipment. So what do I mean by this? When I came here, we realized that every other month there will be a sporting association traveling, and then they come last, second to last. So the question was, why are you traveling? Why are you going overseas? Why are you participating in international competition if you haven't prepared well? And then they say, oh, we don't have facilities, or we don't have equipment. And I said, okay, so this year we're going to buy you equipment, so you prepare, and next year we'll go and win competitions.
These facilities, structures, or equipment, do they meet international standards as well?
Yes, that's what we want to do. So sometimes we have to call the sporting disciplines and say, for example, we want to buy boxing ring and boxing glove for our boxing association. They will have to provide us with specification. Because you know, public funds, you have to do procurement processes, advertisements, and other stuff. But once you have the specification, which they know it's international, then the vendors will provide them.
Indeed, thank you so very much, Dr. Emmanuel Saffa Abdulai. He's the Executive Director for NSA. It's a pleasure having you as always. It's been an amazing conversation with you this morning, and we wish you all the best as you're about to clock a year. And that's it's massive.
Got it. Getting to 1 year, but yeah, thank you.
Time goes so fast.